someone else. And he was like,
Wow.
well, I can come visit you. Like, I just want to get to know you. And so we communicated a lot. And then when I left New Jersey to go back to Antigua, he called me and said, well, can I come visit you in Antigua like this weekend? And I was like, okay, cool. So I called my mom, and I know it sounds messed up, but I called my mom and I was like, Mom, go to his apartment, make sure that it's clean, ask him to use the bathroom. Is there herpes medication in the bathroom? Like, look everywhere. I want to know what's the real deal with him, because I don't live in America, so of course I want to know things that I just want to know. Is it girls clothes in his house? I don't know, but not living in
Mm.
America will hurt me from knowing the real deal. So um,
Mm.
so he passed the test and he came down to Antigua. And I said, I just want you to know I'm never ever living back in the U.S. again. That's not my jam. Being in
Mm.
the U.S. is a traumatic living experience for me on a physical level, on so
Wow.
many different levels. I'm never ever living in the U.S. ever again. Like people talk about their safety, which is a natural fear, but I also want people to understand too. Like, think about what that means, because like Black people can't go to the supermarket, can't go to church, can't go for a jog, can't be in their house unarmed, and you're asking me about safety somewhere else, but
Mm.
like when you put into perspective that you can't just be Black in a supermarket, that's an issue. Like, women don't even have control of their own bodies in the United States, and people like turn their nose up when you say like, oh well, I'm gonna move to Antigua Barbuda. Well, what makes you think that America is so superior when people in Dubai and in Switzerland go to college and stuff for free? Like
Mm-hmm.
like put into context what your
Mm.
idea of this is, but that's not to say that concerns about your safety while you're traveling abroad isn't a thing. I think people see the movie Taken and then they just start to like over sensationalize, but they're not thinking, okay, these girls, number one, didn't even have transportation from the airport with the hotel or with the Airbnb or whatever they were staying. They immediately jumped into the car with a stranger. Okay, that's number one. You get what I'm saying? Number two,
Mm-hmm.
the parents didn't even know where they were going. They were following a van, but they told the parents they were doing something else. So of course
Mm.
the U.S. embassy was not tracking these kids. There was no security or like. So I think people over sensationalize like solo travel. But anyway, back to like the booze. So um, we ended up like dating back and forth and stuff like that. And another thing that's gonna probably be for the salty men that don't want to hear this, but I told him, I said, oh well, I'm dating lots of different guys. Like, I know lots of different guys. Like, men can like you and they will see all these other girls. Well, I'm just talking to lots of guys on the phone. Like, I'm not gonna lie about that. I'm not married, so I don't really have to be in one situation. I can get to know whichever guy I like and then pick which one I like the best, or
Mm.
whatever. So, and he said to me, he said, okay, well, how can I be the one you like the most? And I said, well, you keep spending more time with me and you be yourself, and then we'll figure it out from there. So I
Mm.
was also open with him that I'm talking to other guys, so that way there's no drama between me and you. If you ask me to go out on Wednesday, I'm busy. Maybe Sunday, So I didn't make myself too available for him, but also I just didn't take men that seriously. I thought that they were just really for entertainment. Like, I had my heart broken, so
I was
I
gonna
was
say,
like, look,
sounds like
it's my
someone had their
life.
heart broken. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It
I
makes
did. I was like,
sense.
it's my
Yeah.
life. I'm just doing me. I'm not taking anybody too seriously. I'm just living my life. And so honestly, I didn't even think I was gonna get a husband because I just wasn't into them that much. I didn't like fall on every word. Like, it just wasn't like that. And so we just dated more and more. And then one day he just said to me, I really can't live without you. This is what I want to do. And I said, look, I won't say yes right now because I need you to understand that I found myself when I was solo traveling for all those years. And I'm not going to be that girl that fall in love and forget who she was. So if you accept that solo travel is a part of my life, then I will always split between the two.
Mm.
I'll do 6 trips, solo for myself, my own foundational individual path. And I'll do 6 trips with you. And he was like, listen, I'm just happy to have front row seats to this movie. I'm happy to be a part of your growth. I'm not going to stifle you. This is, you have 10,000 women that you help solo travel. I'm not going to stop that. And I was like,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
yo, okay, then yes, this is the guy for me. And so then he
Mm.
moved to Antigua, and now we just go back and forth because we're not citizens. So by every 90 days, we have to move. Even if we go to Montserrat or St. Lucia, like we have to come back and forth. So that's how it started. But I didn't think I was going to get no man.
Well, let me ask you this question, Kima.
Bravo, I'm gonna head out, but bravo.
Oh yeah,
bravo to you.
You got to cheer for anybody that finds her bliss. And, one
more thing. I know it gets more complicated. You get married and you start having children and all of those things. So it gets more complicated, but it seems like you're figuring it out. Mm-hmm. God bless you. All the best to you. And of course, I'll let you two continue the conversation.
Okay. Well,
bye, everybody.
Okay, well, bye, Alicia.
Okay. Bye. See you later. Everybody clap for Dr. Alicia. She's leaving now. Bye, baby.
Bye.
Okay, so you know what I was hearing with you is that you know you really found yourself and you like the person you are and you're happy with the life you're choosing, which I think that's good. You know, I think that everybody, you know, I'll admit, I think that the guys, and I'll be curious to get your take on that in terms of men who just get offended when a woman is living her best life. Like, how dare you be happy doing something different from what we as men would tell you to do, right? And I'm not a fan of that, right? I think that I think you just choose what you want to do. You live your life, and as long as you know what it is, it's okay, right? So I think that what I'm hearing, because I'm looking at all the different comments, and you got some people that are saying, "You go, girl," and then you got some people that are saying, like, "Oh, that's not appropriate," or "What's wrong with that?" Or you know what I mean? Or she's gonna regret that, right? And I would say at the end of the day, it comes down to just knowing what it is. Like every lifestyle we pick, because I didn't get married till I was 47. And the benefit of that was I got to spend a lot of years, you know, doing a lot of stuff you're doing, traveling solo. I've been all over the world. I've been to so many countries, I can't even count them all. So many flights and trips and everything, you know, and it was so much fun. The downside was that I didn't get a chance to do the whole wife and kids thing, like in that window shut a little bit after my 30s. You know, when you get 51, you don't want to. Yeah, I mean, sure, you know, I've made some money, so I could have easily went and married a 30-year-old and started all over again. But I don't want to be chasing around a newborn at 51 like that. You know, so I made a trade-off, and it was a conscious trade-off, right? And I think that to me, those are always okay. And anybody who gets mad at you for making the conscious trade-offs in your life that make you happy, that's just a hater. That's somebody who's not happy with their own life. But what is interesting is that is when you have somebody that makes the trade-off, but they didn't know what it was. You know, like they for example, you know, I have friends that you know, grew up maybe where her mom told her, forget about men, forget about marriage, forget about kids, focus on your career. So it's career, straight A student, you know, become the top doctor at Harvard University. You're making $300,000 a year. Then you hit 40 and you're like, oh crap, there were these other things I wanted to do when I was younger that I didn't do. And it's harder. Maybe it's a little bit of a different game when you're trying to have a newborn and you're 47, or, you know what I mean? So I think that to me, it's the trade-off. So tell us about that. I'd like to know, number one, what sort of opposition maybe have you gotten from your business model? And then two, I want to know about the business, like how successful it's been, because you made some bread, and I always clap for Black people that are making money. So go ahead.
The thing is, a lot of the women that come to me, that reach out to me on Instagram and say, hey, like I read about you in Essence Magazine, or I read about you in Forbes, and I want to work with you. A lot of those women are at a place where they are ready for some type of transition. Either, you know, they're newly single, or they just lost weight, or something's going on with them where they're like, hey, you know what? I'm at this transition in my life where I want to do better, and this is how I want to express myself, my newfound self. I want to have this confidence. I want to express that through solo travel. And then you mentioned, what was the next question?
Just opposition, you know, saltiness. I mean, I think that what I'm seeing with you, Shakima, is that I get the sense that you are, you know, you're a free spirit. You know, I saw you on your site, you had the word boss. If I'm not mistaken, it was spelled BAWS. BAWSE, like travel like a boss. And I know men who get intimidated when women are that confident and that free. It don't bother me, you know, because I'm confident and free too. We can just be confident and free together. But there are unfortunately, there are some men who define their masculinity by how much they can control women, right? And I just don't think that's a winning game. I don't think I think that makes you look smaller and insecure and weak. What has been your experience in terms of dealing with the range of men that, and when they find out what you do and how you do it?
So it's been like a little bit divided because, I've been publicized 10 times, right? So, you know, I'll be honest. I'm gonna be really honest. I never said this before, but I actually stopped telling people who I was, and I created a fake Instagram profile. So when you
Wow.
Google Shakima Smith, it says that I've been featured in Forbes, USA Today, Business Insider, and it also says that my company is worth $2.3 million. So am I the
Nice.
type, like, I don't want you to know who I am because I don't want you clout chasing. And I'm not saying that all men would
Yeah.
clout chase or would want to ride your coattail or anything like that. But you do have some men that just want to be able to say like, oh, I know her, or I'm dating her.
Mhm.
Or you have some people that when they see like, oh, she's a millionaire, that maybe they might be a little fake towards you because
Mhm.
they know you have something. So when I was first started dating my fiance, I gave him a fake Instagram. It wasn't my it wasn't my real Instagram profile with all my Forbes featured. Nope, I lied because I
Mm.
wasn't sure what his angle was yet.
Mhm.
Um, so I've
Well,
met some.
well, you know
I've
what you
had
got to
to,
look out for? You got to look out for
what
what we call the hobosexuals. The hobosexuals those are the men that there's a whole breed of men, unfortunately, that make money off of women, or that'll sleep with women to get
Yeah.
money. And I hear you though. I hear you. Continue, please. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. So I've met some guys who, I just don't want to be used. I've had friends who've been used by men. I'm just like, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be used. But then I've had some guys who are like, oh, you travel by yourself all the time. So like, where you going? You going to meet men? And I'm like, sweetheart, I just got Esther in USA Today in the same week this month. You think men is the issue? Like, you think I'm out here for men? Like, so I've experienced a little bit of both, but thank God, like when I met my fiance, like he was just like, hey, like you've helped 10,000 women travel the world. I'm not gonna get in the way of that. Yeah, you keep solo traveling because
Mm-hmm.
that's what your purpose is, and most of us don't know what our purpose is. So you keep going, and I'm happy to just cheer you on and try to be there with you every step of the way. I don't want you to change anything about yourself. I just want to be a part of what you're already doing, and I want to be by your side while you grow. And no guy had ever really invested, like, ever really cared that much. So
Mm.
I was like, okay, I think we might be working with something. But again, I was still living in Antigua, and I was dead set that I was never living back in the US again. I was completely confident in that.
Mm.
So he said that he would, do what he had to do with his trucking business and everything, and that he would come to Antigua with me.
So here's a trucking
I
business.
got lucky.
Nice.
Yeah, I really got lucky. And like guys in Antigua would try to talk to me when I first moved to the island, but I was worried. Like, what if they just want me, like, because they hear I'm American, like maybe they just want a visa, like 90-day fiance.
Mm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't really open. But then I met him.
You know what's really interesting? That's a good point. By the way, everybody who's just tuning in, I'm talking to Shakima Smith, and her Instagram page is the Passport Abuser, so you can go take a look. She helps women travel around the world by themselves, or anybody that wants to solo travel. And by the way, what's your website, Shakima? The name of your company?
Yeah, so it's travellikeaboss.com, and boss is spelled BAWSE, travel like a boss.com. But you guys can also find me on Instagram at the Passport Abuser.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what's funny, Shakima, when you talk about and I think a lot of people that haven't experienced and don't know what that is, when you are dating and you don't know exactly what the angle is. I think, when you have a little bit of money or a little bit of status, it just changes the dynamics a little bit. And I noticed that, when I started, when my public profile started to grow, it was about 2006. And that was when I met the first woman that I would technically define as a groupie. And she's in the category of what they call sapiosexuals. And sapiosexuals are people that are attracted to men that have like really strong brains. And I'm a pretty smart dude, so I accept that. It is what it is. And I remember that I learned something about the world and I learned something about myself in that experience. The thing I learned about the world is that people are going to treat you different based on what you got and what you coming with. You know, a pretty girl with a nice booty or whatever it is going to get treated different from an ugly woman who, you know, who's 800 pounds. No disrespect to anybody who's 800 pounds, but that's just reality, right? And so the thing about having money or status is that it adds features, right, that people might find appealing. And here's the thing. I didn't necessarily hold it against a woman if she appreciated the fact that I had money. I understand. I'm like, yeah, I know you probably think that the money's nice and maybe you want to get some of this. That's fine. But I'm not going to give this to everybody. And I'm going to have to observe the situation for a while to decide if you're somebody that I really want to share the entirety of me with. You know, and that helps you distinguish between, at least from the male side, it helped me distinguish between women who just have a natural attraction to men who have financial success, which I think is just biologically driven in a lot of women. I don't think that makes you a bad person, versus the women that just like it's money first. That means if you lose your bread, she's out the door. You know, you lose your bread, she gonna lose her head and go find somebody else. That you know, and so that was what I learned about myself. The thing I learned about that's what I learned about the world. And then what I learned about myself was just sort of that I wasn't really attracted actually to women that were just attracted to me on that level anyway. You know, like this lady, I'll never forget it. It was 2006, prettiest thing ever. And I could not get myself even interested in accepting whatever she was trying to offer me. And I said, what's going on? I'm thinking to myself like a guy, like, dang, she's fine and you should be done. It didn't mean anything because I had no connection to this lady. She wasn't that smart. You know, it was pretty meaningless, right? So I think everybody has to form their own connection to it. And I would say to yourself, and it sounds like you've done this, but I'll encourage you. This is me, Uncle Boyce, right now. I hope that's okay.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I would encourage you to kind of find a way to make sure you always have that balance. And try to do it in a way that doesn't darken your soul. You know, like our souls can get dark because especially when you get used. I don't know anybody in here in the chat knows what I'm talking about. When you got straight used by somebody or manipulated, or you find out later they were there just for XYZ, right? And it can piss you off. Like it can make you mad or betrayal. You know, I've had people that I brought in my circle, let them get real close to me, and then I got myself stabbed by bringing somebody in my camp who had a knife in their hand, right? And it pisses you off and it makes you say, forget it. I ain't trusting nobody. But then I said, no, this doesn't feel good. You know, I don't want to be that person, you know? So I think it seems like you have that balance because I remember when we were in New York, and I'm going to let you talk now because I'm done. But you were actually you stood out because in that room of people, everybody in there was successful. Terry Egioma's made $40 million, and that one lady has the biggest
she made.
Yeah, and you were the most helpful person in that room, and the most open, and the most giving, the most supportive, and that's what my wife and I remembered about you. So tell me more about that. Just I'm not even gonna ask you a question. I'm just gonna let you talk because I don't talk way too much. What are your thoughts based on everything I just said?
No, I think that you're totally right. I love your perspective on everything. I'm super happy for you to have me on today. Like, it was just a pleasure. Like, you know that you're my aunt, you're my uncle, and Dr. Alicia's my auntie now. So yeah, I'm excited to be on. If your audience has any questions, they can definitely reach me at the Passport Abuser on Instagram. And yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. So everybody, so we are going to let Miss Shakima go. This is Shakima Smith. Her website is Travel Like a Boss. That's BAWS, travellikeaboss.com. You can follow her at the Passport Abuser. Just if you're watching on Instagram, you can just hit the link. And I'm gonna stick around for a minute. And I know some of y'all have some questions and some thoughts that you'd like to share. So as we let Shakima go, I'll just hang on and chat with y'all for a minute, rap with you about some things. And also don't forget, if you go to BoyceWatkins.com, we're doing an event Tuesday night. And it's free for those who are in the Black Business School. And it's basically, the simple title is How to Become a Millionaire by Investing 5 Minutes a Month. So I'm going to break that down on Tuesday night. You're welcome to come as well if you'd like to pop in, Shakima. Yes.
That sounds really good. I would love to actually give this to my email list because I think that they would want to know about this. So maybe you can text me after this.
Yes, I sure will. I sure will. And the link is at boycewatkins.com as well. And everybody watching on Instagram, you can hit the link in the bio. But I'll text it to you. I'll text it to you also, Shakima. So thank you, Shakima.
Great.
So everybody say goodbye to Shakima. You go, girl. You go, girl. Black women making money. God bless y'all. God bless y'all. Okay. All right. So as Shakina pops out, I will go ahead and answer some of your questions. Somebody just wrote, Boyce, don't read the comments. You'll be disappointed. See, I read your comment, asshole. What's wrong? Boo, boo, boo. So you got clown, didn't you? You got clown, didn't you? Uh-huh. I'm messing with you. I'm kidding. You're not an asshole. But seriously, if you have any questions or anything you'd like to ask me before we bounce out, just feel free to let me know. And by the way, that event on Tuesday, how to become a millionaire by investing 5 minutes a month. That's something that I put together. I love sharing what I know about finance and everything else with you guys. You can go to boycewatkins.com and you can go take a look and join the event. All right. So if you have a question for me, throw the question in the chat. Nothing too overly detailed, but just something like, okay, here's a question. Is this live? Yes, that is the answer to your question. I've answered your question. Yeah, I appreciated hearing her story. Yeah, me too. I what I like about what Shakima was saying is, we have, you guys know about like the class I teach on options, right? And I've thought about stock options for many years since I was in my PhD program from a theoretical standpoint. And really, with options, if you understand what it means to have options, then you're halfway there. Like everybody knows. Give me a yes in the chat if you know what it means to have options, right? And if you know what it means, give me a yes if you know what it means to have options versus what it means to not have options. Well, what she's really saying to me is that in your life you just want to have options, and her teaching women and men as well how to travel solo, to me, means that she's just showing people how to have options so that you're not sitting there stuck not being able to do what you want to do because you waiting on some raggedy ass friend that can't get off their ass, or you're waiting on a spouse who don't want to do nothing, or you're waiting on a man who may not ever come into your life, or you waiting on a woman that's too scared to leave the house. I mean, I'm not saying you got to leave everybody behind, but I personally think that ability to kind of detach from whatever's around you, whatever's holding you back, and doing you, I think that's totally cool. And even in the context of marriage, there are some things. Let me tell you, like some little stuff like this. I'll give you one example. It just comes to mind. Don't judge me. I used to go with my grandma to eat at Golden Corral because I like it. I just do. I don't judge me. I just do. My wife hates Golden Corral. She just thinks it's like eating garbage off the floor. Like she just hates the restaurant. It just doesn't work for her. I think Golden Corral is good because I grew up loving a good buffet. Me and my mom used to go to Ponderosa and all that stuff. So I felt kind of mad because every time we'd be hungry and I'd be like, hey, babe, what are we going to eat? Oh, there's a Golden Corral. Ugh, I don't want to eat a Golden Corral. I don't know. All right. Okay, let's go to wherever you want to go, right? And I don't like that, right? So there were times where I would just say, you know what? I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to drive and I'm going to go eat at the place I want to eat, and so to me, just kind of having your mind expanded to realize you ain't got to wait for nobody. I kind of like that. And I think there's something that happens, I think, for some women where they feel like they have to wait for somebody to come along to take them to the movies or take them out to dinner or treat them well. I don't think that traveling solo and doing things on your own means that you're not prepared for a man. I think that it just means that you're going to get to the business of living your life, and then when you're blessed with whatever it is you're waiting for, it'll come along, and I really think there's a gender difference in that, because I know as a man, I was not stigmatized when I told my family, look, yeah, I know I'm 41 and not married, but I don't want to be married. I don't need that right now. And I did whatever I wanted. I got on airplanes every week and went all around the world and had a lot of great experiences. And I don't regret a single thing. And I think that if I had been a woman trying to do the same thing, it would have been judged a lot by people who had no right to judge me. right? And I'm not saying just live your life without thinking about things, because I think there are some real things to think about. Like, so for example, if if you're living your life, if you are a person that values marriage and you want to get married in your 30s and all this other stuff, I don't think you can just live a reckless life in your 20s and then think it's all going to just come together when you hit 32, 33 years old, that your husband will just be waiting. I noticed a distinct difference in the amount of male competition I had for women in my 30s versus in my 20s. In my 20s, there was a lot of competition, a lot of dudes, because girls would date all kinds of guys. They could date good guys, bad guys, thugs, college boys, all that. But then when you got about between 30 and 35, I noticed that the competition was thinning out. I noticed I was getting a lot more attention from women who didn't really find me interesting when I was a struggling student in graduate school. But now that I was a young college professor making $115,000 a year, suddenly I'm identified as husband material. Oh, he would make a good husband. I'm like, yeah, I probably would be a great husband for you, but you should have realized that shit back in when I was 25 years old. But you didn't realize it back then. And now Boyce got options. Boyce had a lot of other things he could be doing other than being a husband to a woman that, gave herself away to the whole alpha house back when we were in college together, So I'm not judging. I don't think that we have a right to tell anybody how to live their life. In fact, when you talk about things like, what a woman does with her body, I don't feel any need to tell a woman what she does with her body, especially on things like abortion and all that. The only time I feel the need to intervene in the discussion is when you are carrying my child in your body. If my child is in your body, then that's not your body anymore. That's our body. That's our child. That's our baby. It's your body carrying our baby. And I feel like as a father, as a human being, as a man, I have a right to have some say in that conversation. I don't think that you have the right to just say, I'm going to abort your baby, and then I'm not even going to tell you because you don't deserve nothing. Well, at that point, I'm gonna just be honest with you guys. I start feeling like, wait a minute. So you demanding your rights means you're taking away my rights, but then again, if you talk about the right to choose, we all have the right to choose. I have the right to choose what type of women that I choose to spend my time with. Men, we have the right to choose also. You got to choose what kind of lady you lay down with. So no, would I ever have laid down with a woman that I thought would abort my child and not even take my feelings into consideration? No, you're not going to get none of this if you are that type of person, right? Same thing with women, though. There are ways to identify men who have good family values. It starts with figuring out what his father did for him. If his father was a piece of crap, you got to figure out where his value system is in terms of whether he's either continuing the generational curse or he's going to break the generational curse. Some fathers, I know a lot of guys who didn't have a dad growing up. My biological father wasn't there at all. He was kind of a bum, to be honest with you. And he wasn't there, but I had a real man that raised me, and it made me very determined to make sure that as a man, my presence was always felt amongst the people that I was supposed to provide for and take care of. So I never missed any of my child support payments. I was always available if my kids needed me. I even took on kids that weren't even my own. I'm blessed with being a bonus dad for 3 beautiful children, and they're like my kids. I mean, they respond to me like a dad. We do things like a dad. We went go-kart racing the other day. We had a lot of fun. I give them advice like a dad. I love it. It's the best. There's nothing ever that I can think of that I've done in my life that's more enjoyable than being a black father to black children. I really can't think of anything I enjoy more. And so I will say, though, that, you got to find out what people value, what really matters to them. Right. So ultimately, I think that, so when I hear, I really felt that clip. Did y'all see that clip I put up on my Instagram with Ayanna Van Zant, where Ayanna was basically, there was a woman who was talking about how hard it is being a single mom and doing everything on her own. And I think Ayanna said something like, I don't want a badge of honor for my mistakes, or I don't want a badge of courage for all the mistakes, for the bad choices I made. And I thought, whoa, that's pretty heavy. She's telling this woman, you made bad choices. You chose to lay down with a man without a condom, and now you're dealing with this situation. And I'm not one to be so harsh in that regard, because I think single moms go through a lot. Love is a tricky process. Love will trick you into doing things that you might later regret. I've studied love. I studied the biochemistry of love. I studied how love affects the brain. I've studied how the female orgasm can release so much oxytocin in the brain of a woman that she becomes instantly bonded to the man who's giving her good sex. These are things you don't hear about. These are things people don't talk about. These are things that remind me that men and women are just built different. Men, our testosterone alone allows us to bond differently than women do. Women will bond like crazy to a man that they're sleeping with. They just like they bond to their kids. Look at how attached women are to their children. So to me, when you talk about the power of God, like God creates those powerful bonds. I don't believe in playing with God. I don't believe in playing. I'm not even a religious person, but I'm gonna get a little religious for a second. I'm just gonna say I don't play with the power of God. Like I don't. That's why I don't. I don't get into even the transgender conversation confuses me. It's like, no, you're born a man. I don't think you could really be a woman. You could try. Like you can identify and everything else, but like I can identify as a rich white man, but that ain't gonna work. I'll never be a rich white man. I can act like one. I can talk like one. I can carry myself like one. I can tighten up my butt cheeks and everything, but I'm never going to be a rich white man. And so ultimately, I think when you're talking about love and sex and all these other things that people just throw around, they treat it in a very casual way without realizing that sex and love literally are the foundations for the existence of all humanity on the planet. Like literally human beings cannot exist without love and sex and human attraction. Why are you playing with that? Like, why are you acting like it's just funny games? Like it's just something you can just casually do with whoever you see and just is no big deal. And then you get upset when the catastrophe comes, when you're trying to raise those 3 babies all by yourself and you ain't got no help. The time to think about that is when you're getting horny and you want to just go over and go and have a quick orgasm with some person that has no business in your bedroom. Same thing is true with male and female. I'm not taking men out of this conversation. I know a lot of men get mad at me because I think men should be accountable for our choices too. I think that accountability to me means having enough courage to simply know how to be who you're supposed to be as a man without feeling somehow that women threaten that by being whatever they want to be. Like, so when you talk about for example, I never got into these platforms that exist online. I'm not going to talk bad about Kevin Samuels at all because I don't even bring him up like that because the man died. I mean, we should show some respect. But when you just sit around and you're complaining constantly about women and what women do and what women don't do and I need to fix women, I need to educate women. It sounds as weird to me as when I hear women talk about how they're educating men. Like that one lady who was dark skinned. Did y'all see that? I put that video on my Instagram. My Instagram is the real Boyce Watkins. And there was a beautiful dark skinned lady. They had she had some really pretty lips and pretty skin and everything else. And she was talking about why she was going to start dating out of her race. Because she said, because black men did this and black men that. And then she said something like, and I've educated black men. I've educated them on colorism. I've educated them on this. I've educated them on that. And my feeling is like, why do you feel so superior to other people that you feel like you got to educate men? Are you letting men educate you? Are you a person? Because that's the thing. When you think you're always the teacher, but you can't never be the student, well, that's just gonna make you an idiot. That's gonna make you a dumbass. And so maybe your problem is not that black men are all colorist and that we don't like dark-skinned women and also maybe it's because we just don't like bitches. Like seriously, maybe it's just that we just don't like women that are constantly telling us what to think, telling us what to do, telling us how they're better than us and how smarter they. Stop all that. Like, just be a human being, be a good person, show some respect. Like as a man, I know as a man, I never wanted much. I just wanted to be respected. Respect matters to me more than love. I'd rather have you respect me than love me. Love is cool. Love is nice, but I'm not, I believe men and women are different. I think my wife would rather be loved. Don't get me wrong. She wants to be respected too, but I think love is heavy on her mind because she's got a lot of feminine energy. She's 100% woman. But at the same time, me, I'm like, yeah, I'd like some love, but I'll take the respect first. If you love me and disrespect me, that means you don't really love me anyway, because you should love what I love if you really care about me. If I say I want to be respected, then you need to respect me. And so ultimately, I just really think these conversations go all wrong. And so when I listen to Shakima and she's talking about traveling solo, and then I see men in the chat who are like, oh, only whores travel solo, and what's wrong with you? And that's just stupid, this, that, and the other. I really encourage men to kind of just walk past all that nonsense because unfortunately what it does give the appearance of is that you're revealing your own insecurities when you do that. Who cares? Why do you care if she's traveling by herself? Why do you care? I mean, you ain't got to date her. She ain't got to be in your life. And the other thing too is, to me, if you are doing your best to be the best person you can be and succeeding as much as you can in your life, you're not really gonna get too caught up in what other people are doing. My wife is a high flyer. My wife is very successful. My wife is one of the top scholars in her field. She's, gotten all kinds of awards and, status and everything else. I don't care. That doesn't, I mean, I care. I support it. Like, I cheer for her. I say, hey, your mama just got another award. Yay, let's have a party. But I'm getting awards too. I'm winning too. Like, I'm succeeding too, and she cheers me on. And I contrast that with there was a lady, I did not know her. I knew somebody that knew her pretty well, but she was a professor, a college professor, and she was also a high flying, award winning instructor. And she had this husband who was a complete failure. He went to law school. He failed the bar exam 5 times. He wasn't making that much money. She was making more money than him. And he was jealous of her. He got to the point where he became jealous of her. And this spilled over into their relationship. Next thing you know, he's cheating because his infidelity was driven by his insecurity and his jealousy of his wife. But then also he starts to abuse her because he's thinking she's cheating. You know how it is. Like, the person that's cheating is always like thinking that their partner is cheating because they're projecting, right? And next thing you know, this guy just loses it and he murders her. He killed her, and he then killed himself. And he had 2 children that were under the age of 5. They had 2 kids under the age of 5. And one of the kids walks in the bedroom and finds mommy and daddy both dead in the bedroom. And when I heard that story, I just said, my God, like, this to me is the saddest thing in the world. This is a man who really lost his true purpose, in my opinion. This is a man who, for whatever, at some point, somebody put the wrong spirit in this man, taught him the wrong things. Because I can understand everything in turn. I mean, we can all understand jealousy and all that stuff, but you literally killed your children's mother and yourself because you're such a bitch that you were so caught up in your own emotions that you didn't even think about your own damn kids. I don't even know what to do with a man who thinks like that. I don't even know what to do with that. I can't call you a man at that point, because at the very least, I mean, I can even understand, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's okay. I can even understand somebody who beat somebody up, like, you were sleeping with my wife, blah, blah, blah. Like, I get, I understand all that. Jealousy makes you do crazy things, but you killed your spouse and yourself, and you got 2 young children. Man, what's wrong with you? And that, to me, what that says to me is that that's a man who is still a little, who was always a little boy. Because a little boy, that's what a child would do. A child would throw a temper tantrum, and they don't care about nobody else but themselves. All they're caught up in is how they feel at that moment, and they're not thinking about other people. And I would say that, in general, if you want the Uncle Boyce point of view on manhood, I gave my son one simple rule of manhood that I think can encompass quite a bit of what it means to be successful when it comes to raising Black families and getting the awesome responsibility of raising children for the next generation and all these other things. That's the most important thing you'll ever do, by the way. I just said to him, I said, okay, here's what I believe as a man. If you are a man and you are doing your best to be the best man you can be, you are responsible for something. Men are naturally territorial. We are naturally territorial. When I was a baby, my dad, my father who adopted me, literally looked at me and my mother. He said, these 2 are mine. This is my responsibility. This house is mine and my responsibility. Like, men are just territorial like that. I don't think we have to apologize for that, because that's how God made us. So as a man, you are responsible for a territory. You should be. And if you are not responsible for any territory and you choose to take responsibility for no territory other than, your couch where you sit on the couch and smoke weed and play Xbox all day, then there are African tribes that would say you're not really a man because you haven't taken responsibility for anything. What are you leading? Are you leading an organization? Are you leading a family? What are you responsible for? What are you providing for? What are you protecting? And so I said to him, I said, to me, the number one measuring stick of manhood is the people that I am responsible for. Are their lives better off or worse off because I was here? I know a lot of men where the people that they're responsible for have lives that are far worse because you were there than if you weren't there. I knew a lady who told me that when she was 16, her father committed suicide. He was an abusive alcoholic, and one day he just hung himself in the garage. And I said, how did that feel? I said, that must have been traumatic for you to have your father kill himself, and you're only 16 years old. And do you know what she said? She said, actually, honestly, I was relieved. I was relieved because I knew he wasn't going to beat up my mother anymore. I knew he wasn't going to come home drunk and terrorize the whole house. And I don't, I don't know what her father went through that made him into the person he was, but to me, that's the exact opposite of a man. When you are creating terror and chaos in the lives of the people that you're responsible for, you are not a man. The people in your life should be better off. They should have more wealth in their bank account. They should have more health in their body. They should have a stronger spirit because you're there. They should feel safer because you're there. Their lives should be elevated because you're there. And if their lives aren't elevated, then you fail to do your job. So by the way, I'm going to get on my Instagram. The Instagram's about to run out. I'm going to restart the Instagram right after this. It only gives you an hour, but it sounds like we have a few more things to talk about. So if you want to pop back in, just pop back in. I'm going to end the Instagram chat. Everybody else on YouTube and Facebook, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. And by the way, my website's boycewatkins.com. And if you want to join us Tuesday night, we're doing an event Tuesday night. I'm going to do a lecture on how to become a millionaire by investing 5 minutes a month. And I promise you it's going to change your life. So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com and take a look if you'd like to join us Tuesday night. All right. So, but yeah, so that's it. That's it. Like, if you think about it, if you're a dad who has, made everybody's life better because you are around, then that to me makes you a good dad. Like, I think that's a good criteria. Like your kids, are they smarter because you're there, or are they dumber? The family finances, are they better or are they worse because you're there? If they're better, they could be better because you're investing and you're saving and you're working hard and you're doing all these other things. Or they could be worse because you got a gambling addiction and you took out the grocery money and blew it all at the goddamn casino because you wasn't thinking about nobody but yourself. Or you went out and bought some crack or whatever, right? It could be worse. Do people feel safer with you around, or do they feel less safer? Right? They feel safer maybe because you are a protector and you are really out there making sure that your kids are good, that nobody will come in your house, hurt your daughter or hurt your son or whatever, right? Your wife is protected and all that. Or you can make them feel less safe because you're the predator inside the house. You're molesting the kids, you're beating people up, you're coming in cussing everybody out. Are they happier because you're there, or are they more traumatized and sad? Right? They're happy. Maybe they're happier because you're there, because you're fun and you're cracking jokes and you're taking the kids out and you're creating all these wonderful experiences. Or maybe they're sadder because you're just such a terrible person that you just decide you want to be mean to everybody and yell and scream and cuss people out and hurt their feelings and all this other stuff. Like, I really think that men, Black men in particular, I feel like we have literally within ourselves a godlike power to manifest and create whatever reality we want. I really believe that. I think Black women have a tremendous godlike power in the sense that they can actually give life to a human being. Men can't do that, right? So that to me is where the goddess comes out of women. But I think for men, where I feel my godlike power as a man is I wake up every day and I say, oh my God, there are people in this household whose whole reality can be shifted based on the shit that I do and the things that I say. I mean, do you understand that? Like, how amazing that is to know that there are people around me where if I go hard and I really do my best, it's going to create a ripple effect that's going to last over 100 years. Give me a guess if you get what I'm saying. Right? So the things I say to my daughter, me and my daughter had a conversation about self-esteem and I was explaining to her, why she is enough and everything else. And we were talking and I remember I said to her, cause she was kind of sad. And I said, you know what I am, right? And she said, no, what are you? I said, I'm a king. I said, I know I'm a king. I've made millions of dollars. I go around the world. People know who I am. I'm highly educated. I'm at the highest level in my field. I'm a king. And I will fight you. I have a warrior spirit. I'm a king. And I said, now you're the daughter of the king. I said, so what does that make you? And she looked at me. She's kind of crying, and she kind of looked up. She said, "A princess?" And I said, "Yeah, you're a princess. So we don't let nobody disrespect the princess. The princess is the most important person in the room. The princess can do whatever she wants." Right? And it, to me, like conversations like that are the most epic part of being a father, in my view. Like that's the part where when I hear people on the internet saying stupid stuff, I see little boys. They had this nickname because I love my wife so much. They'd be like, "That's Moist Watkins." I'm like, "You sit down, you Moist. You're a little kid. You in your mama's basement banging away on the keyboard, mad because I'm winning and you're not. You're mad because there are black men out here that are getting it done. And I'm not the only one. There are brothers in this chat right now who have enough money where they could buy you and your Xbox and still have a ton of money left over." Like, so stop with this nonsense of the black man being defined as a little child. I know where this comes from. I see the culture that they created falsely in your community. I see what the white man did to you. He convinced you through hip hop music and all this shit with these rappers, 35, 40 years old, calling themselves Lil Baby and Baby this and Lil that, Lil this. But I'm sorry, where I come from, when you're 40, you don't want to be little at anything as a man. Nobody wants to be little unless you have to be, like you're Kevin Hart or something. But even Kevin Hart ain't little. Even Kevin Hart lifts weights and carries himself like a strong man. I respect this guy a lot. So to me, what you're seeing in the culture, and this is where you get this little boy culture out here, where they start whining and complaining like little bitches on these YouTube channels about black men who love black women and, "Oh, you simping because you love a woman." And what are y'all doing? Are y'all screwing each other in the butt? Like what? Like seriously, like what is going on? Like it's weird to me. And what it is though is it's driven by the fact that the white man keeps you as a little boy. But he can't keep all of us as little boys, because some of us are meant to be grown ass men. And but I give them, but it's one of those things where, like they said in the Bible, forgive them for they know not what they do. Forgive them for they know not what they do. Number one, a lot of them are still young. A lot of them are still in their 20s. They just following the crowd. They're just repeating what they heard somebody say on the internet. Number two, many of them never really got guidance from a man. You know, they didn't get guidance from a man, so they don't even know what real men look like. Only manhood examples they've seen, because unfortunately their daddies ran off on them or whatever, is they've seen rappers showing you this nonsense, that makes you think that the simp is the man and the man is the simp. Right? That the man who takes care of his family, makes sure his kids are good, goes out and gets his bread and handles his business, that's not a real man. That's a simp. Why you simping? You out here taking care of a woman. Why you simping and taking care of a woman? Well, where I come from, that's what a man's supposed to do. You know, but then you look at these rappers, got 18 babies mamas. He's a drug addict, so don't nobody respect him. He's running around talking about killing other black people. You know, he's throwing all his money away to the white man. Also, he can complain about how broke he is later on. And you think that that's manhood, and that's not manhood. That's not only self-destructive behavior. That's why these rappers all die before they're 40 years old, damn near. Not all of them, but the toxic ones do. The toxic ones don't last that long. But also, it is one that is designed, and if you read books like Powernomics or Black Labor, White Wealth, it shows that it was part of a process designed to keep you strategically uncompetitive. It's designed to keep you strategically uncompetitive. So, so I would encourage like the women that get a little sad when you hear men online saying things about women that are really disrespectful. Just understand that this was made in America. They created this. They created this, and it's designed to make sure that white supremacy remains strong, because a little boy can't compete with a grown man. A little boy can't compete with a grown man. So if you have some 40-year-old dude who spent his whole life smoking blunts and getting girls pregnant and wasting his money and doing stupid things and didn't educate himself, how the hell are you going to compete with a white man who's strategically prepared for everything? How are you going to compete with people that are building rocket ships to Mars and billion-dollar corporations? Seriously, the only way that you can engage with that person is in a boss subordinate situation. So you're going to spend your whole life calling him daddy. You're going to spend your whole life complaining to your woman that you can't provide, or you can't take care of your kids, or your baby's mamas can't eat because the white man won't provide for you. So unfortunately, you don't understand. You are making yourself into his subordinate. You make yourself into either a little boy, a beta, or a child. That's what you know, or even an animal. Damn near. They really look at you like you're less than human. So what I really think as Black people is that, and the reason I'm even having this conversation, because I'm doing a stream of consciousness here, so I don't even know what's going to come out of my mouth. I don't know if it's going to offend anybody or not. I really don't care. Is I'm really doing a call to encourage anybody out here that even understands an ounce of what I'm saying. Is you got to stand up. You got to hold your head up high. You got to be proud of who you are. You got to really stand up against this nonsense, because it's not just anti-Black and destructive, but it's damn near embarrassing. It's humiliating. I was an athlete in high school, and I was very competitive. I didn't like to lose. I didn't like getting my ass kicked, whether it was track and field or basketball or football. I don't like losing. And you have a lot of losers in your community that get held up as winners. You can't tell me that some of these rappers, and I'm just talking about the rappers, because a lot of guys imitate rappers because they don't know who they are. So they dress like them and talk like them, get the same tattoos they got and all this other stuff. But you see the white supremacy means, in my view, if I'm a white supremacist, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm always going to continue to take the biggest losers, and I'm going to market the biggest. I'm going to spend my billions of dollars marketing the biggest loser males I can possibly find, so that the real men never get seen by the community. I want you to think that the clowns are the kings and that the kings are the clowns. And I'm going to tell you, I see clowns on TV. I see these Negroes that pretend to be Black leaders, but they ain't nothing but stooges for the Democratic Party. I see rappers on TV getting all these props and all this respect and all this money when they're literally sitting in front of a crowd full of 100,000 white people calling yourself a nigger. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? You're literally embarrassing yourself, but you think it's okay because they're paying you lots of money to do it. I see men on TV that put on dresses and then they make $100 million, and we think that that person's a hero because they made money, when really they degraded the entire community. They emasculated themselves in front of massa, and massa's rewarding that. Just like a trick in a club. A trick in a club's going to pay the girl to drop it like it's hot and bend over and all this other stuff, right? So that's what you're doing. You're getting paid to be a hoe. You're getting paid because you basically were willing to do whatever it took to get that money, even if that meant degrading yourself and embarrassing your whole family and your whole community. But we think that that person's successful because they have money in their bank account. That's what we do. That's what it is. That's how the game is played. If I'm a racist white man, that's exactly what I do. I say, oh, no. Don't put that intelligent guy on TV. Don't put that militant. He's too militant. We need this go along, get along Negro. And we're going to put him on TV. Or we're going to grab the one who's the drug addict and the alcoholic who don't take care of his kids. And because we're so liberal, we're going to throw him out there, and we're going to say that if you say anything about his behavior, you're discriminating, or that's not appropriate. Seriously, that's what they do. So here's what I see. I'm going to tell you what I see when I go into the world, though. Here's the thing. This is what gives me hope. When I go out into the world and I meet you guys and I meet y'all, I talk to you, and you come up and you tell me about your lives. I meet a superhero every single day of the week when I travel. I kid you not. When I was in Houston at the Power Networking Conference with George Frazier, I saw Black women who respect Black men immensely, who are running $1 million companies, who have tons of education. I saw Black men who love the hell out of Black women, who have amazing families, who have over $1 million in the bank. I was in New Orleans, and I can't remember what event. I was at Julian Gordon's event in New Orleans, and I was waiting for an Uber on the corner, and a brother rolled up in a pickup truck, and he stopped at the light, and he said, Dr. Boyce. And I just smiled back. I said, hey, man, how you doing? And he was talking to me at the light, and we were kind of talking like we were about 10 feet away, and it was kind of awkward. And I realized that my Uber wasn't coming. And I said, hey, man, the light's about to change. Can you give me a ride to my hotel? And he said, yeah. So I hopped in his truck. And it was one of those big Ford F-350s or something where they have the back seat and the front seat. So my wife got in the back seat. I got in the front. And I was riding with this brother. And he was like a lot of you. He had served in the military. He retired from the military. And he was running a business. I can't remember the type of business. But I listened to him tell his story, right? And he was telling me about his wife. He'd been married to his wife 30 years. They had 2 beautiful children. They had a business that was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And he said, we have over $1 million in our portfolio. And he also said that I love you because you are the reason I quit my job. I think that's what he said. He said, I heard something you said and I went and I quit my job and I just started my business. Now this brother was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, had over $1 million in the bank. And I just met him because I was standing on the street corner waiting for an Uber, and he gave me a ride. And I just said to my wife, I said, see, these are the types of black men they will never show on TV, because his brother ain't flashy. He wasn't speaking all this crazy slang. He didn't have 25 tattoos on his face. He wasn't running around with 18 babies mamas. He wasn't blinging with fake jewelry and shit. He wasn't going to Jake the jeweler and trying to buy Gucci and Prada. He was just living his life and doing right by his family. He was building a legacy, man. He was building a legacy. And I said, this is what Black power looks like. These are the types of men that I look to. These are the men I look up to. When I would look for my role models, I grew up looking for men like that. These guys on TV, I don't know what the fuck they are. I don't know where the hell they come from. I don't know what they represent, but that's not the culture that I believe in, because that's not the culture that's sturdy. You aren't going to go into that man's house and make him a slave of anything. But I know many rappers who are complete total slaves, straight Kunta Kinte, can't do nothing. Remember when Snoop Dogg tried to get real militant for a while, and then they shut his ass down and had him apologizing like 8 times? Like literally had him apologizing over and over and over and over again. I'm not making fun of Snoop because I don't think he's that bad. I'm not trying to diss him or anything, but I really got frustrated when I saw this, because I said, here we go. Black men on their knees again, apologizing when you ain't even did nothing wrong. Nick Cannon, remember Nick Cannon tried to get militant for a while, and then he ended up apologizing over and over and over again because they got him by the balls in every way imaginable. This is an example where money makes you into a slave. And the reason these guys ended up apologizing is because they're not really built for true competition with the white man. They can't. They can't compete with the white man. They can't. He comes in and he puts his foot down, he puts his balls on the table, and you got to submit to that. You have to, get on your knee for that. And a lot of people think it's cool to try to be strong and black. And because they're in a space of entertainment is not about substance. Entertainment, which is where many of your rappers live or whatever, it's about flash. It's about flash, right? You don't really got to do it. You just got to act like you did it. You ain't really got to have it. You just got to pretend like you have it. You ain't really got to be a real gangster. You just got to be a studio gangster. You just got to make sure you say it good with a nice beat and some nice lyrics, right? And to me, that was those situations were an example of the Wizard of Oz being exposed, where you find out the emperor has no clothes. A lot of the individuals that you look at in entertainment that you admire the most, there's absolutely no substance to their existence. There's nothing there that makes them really worthy of any of your respect, other than the fact that they made a song that you liked and they know how to pretend, right? And so when you put them in a situation that requires them to be real, a lot of them buckle and fold. A lot of them can't stand on nothing because they ain't never really had to go to battle over something significant and something serious. Now, but there are some artists I've seen on the contrast, though, who have shown the kind of integrity and the backbone necessary to be leaders in the community. D1, for example, is an artist that I love to death because D1 is really who he is. He raps about what he does and what he lives, and he lives that. When I worked with Ice Cube on the whole election thing, I was very impressed. I had to talk to him for a while to really know if he was serious or if he was just trying to do it for clout. He wasn't. He really believed in these things and he really stood by himself. Some other examples: when I worked with Russell Simmons on a mass incarceration project, he had to stand up to the Obama administration because they were trying to basically blackball him from all their little White House events because they were used to having the black celebrities in their pocket because they're all so weak and flimsy. Immortal Technique is a rapper. He's from Peru, but he's a cool brother, and he has some great music, and I loved his music, and I happened to talk to him. He's also a person that lives what he says. But then you have a lot of other individuals in the entertainment space who can't keep it real for nothing. Because they're literally paper tigers. They literally have nothing substantive that backs up all the flash. And so I don't really look for the flashy people. Like when I'm thinking about who I'm going to invite to the All Black National Convention and all that, I don't invite the flashy people. I don't care. And I can see a flashy Negro in a second. I can look straight through the little bit of money you made, but I look at your relationships and how you make your money. I look at your track record and what you've done. And there are a lot of flashy Negroes who will never get an invitation to the convention because I want people of substance. I want people that can really stand toe to toe, pound for pound against the oppressor and win that battle and do what's necessary to engage in that fight. And unfortunately, a lot of your fake black leaders they put on white-owned television are not appropriate. They're not going to get the job done. This is why you need black-owned media that's going to elevate those people. Like you look at guys like some guys that came on the other day, Rizza Islam. Rizza Islam is solid. You look at Maj Touré. He talks about guns. He's committed to gun ownership. You're not going to go pump Maj Touré. You're not going to go push him around. He's not a flimsy guy. You look at Professor James Small. Professor James Small has the track record to show that he's black first. He has the track record to show that he's willing to fight and die for whatever he believes in. He has a track record, right? So I personally encourage you, and then even beyond those that have a bigger platform, I think even in your own life, you got those solid people who are down for you, and then you got the people who are not. And I think that when I look at men, you talk about just manhood in particular, the guys I like are the guys similar to the guy that gave me that ride in that truck. I don't remember his name. If he's in the chat, I hope he says his name because I don't remember the brothers. I don't remember names that well. I hate it, but it's just who I am. And I just love the fact I said, man, this makes me feel good. I just talked to a sturdy black man who spent 30 years building with a beautiful black woman and raised some black kids, raised a strong black family, and put $1 million in the bank and left a powerful black legacy. That man is not going to be the victim of nobody's oppression. You ain't going to be having hashtags when the police done just ran up and shot him for no reason. You're not going to hear about him just being some sort of victim. He wasn't built to be a victim. He was built to be a fighter. He was built to be a soldier. And I applaud that. Those are my type of people. So shout out to all the solid people in the community. My goal in life is to do everything I can to elevate your presence in the world because you are the people that our children need to look up to. You are. I mean, if you take some of these artists that they put out there in front of your kids every day, and your child lives the exact same life that person's living, your child will be dead by the age of 30. And then they're going to call them a victim, and they're going to say it's because of racism or oppression or whatever, or some unsolvable problem where the black man just happens to die young because there's no way to stop it. And that's not true. There appears to be no way to stop it because they don't want to stop it. They don't want to stop it. They don't want black men to stop dying young. Who would want to stop that? That's like God's gift to, that's that's like killing off a rodent problem. They don't want black boys to be born. They don't want black boys to prosper. They don't want black men to succeed. They don't want black men to be strong. They want you to be weak. They want you to be weak and comfortable because that minimizes the amount of threat you might cause to the pre-existing construct. So you got to get off that plantation. It starts psychologically. It has to be mental. So whoever you are, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Don't be scared. Maybe my conversation can give you some courage because I know what it feels like to be alienated by people who just don't understand. And I just want to be that one person. Hopefully, if you're listening here, I want to be the person that encourages you to just really let your light shine and be the absolute best you can be and practice holding your head up high, stick your chest out, and just say, no, I'm pro-black and I mean it. And this is what I believe. And that's what I'm standing on. And I don't care what anybody